what shall we say, huh? Good good noon, Jason.
Good, good, James.
And it's just 2 days after we our first interview, and I failed to record our voice, so that's the second one, huh?
That's what we call as cut two.
Please do introduce yourself to us.
All right. Hello everyone. My name is Jason. I am currently Procter& Gamble Physical Distribution Senior Manager, mostly focusing on supply chain. I'm currently responsible for East and North Automation for the physical distribution department of Procter& Gamble within Greater China. So you could say over 50% of the automation over Greater China supply chain area is in my focus.
Good. And you're quite busy in this time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you'll have to work in the weekends
Yeah.
to manage some upcoming trade war, right?
Perfect. And right now you're at the if you want to take a look, you're at the Huangpu plant. This is one of the co-business plant and co-business hubs for the physical distribution side all over Greater China's Procter& Gamble business.
And let's talk about your education career.
Mhm. So I got my bachelor degree back in 2019 from UK in University of South Wales, majoring in logistics management and supply chain management. And by 2021, I received my master degree within the US in Washington University in St. Louis and majoring in supply chain management. So basically, you could say over the 7 years of education, I had most of my focusing areas with both the logistics engineering side and the supply chain management side. So I'm a corporate like a collab between business and engineering. So that's all my backgrounds, mostly focusing on overseas education.
And so, when you are leading a team, what kind of leading style do you use habitually? And can I have an example of a specific project to detail that? How do you influence your team?
Hmm. Actually, it depends. It really depends on what kind of projects and what kind of phases are really in within this project. So typically, we like to say we would always want our subordinates or one of the guys who are co-working with us could be the next generation of leaders within the longer term. So if the time is not in a hushing way, and if you especially have some moments, I would like to choose as much as transformational leadership as I like. And this is to see in two ways. One thing is that if you could have those guys transform into better versions of leaders, especially when you are choosing or when you are opting the guys who you want to working in a longer term, you would like to have someone with your core mindset and who could become better versions of yourself. This is not just about becoming a guy who could become a leader, but it is also to continue to reach the continuable business growth within a longer term. So likely in Procter Gamble, we have a title to say that we value our employees and we value the work they are doing. This is likely to say we are choosing the guys who have the same mindset with us. If you are talking about the mindset, that is to say you are talking about some guys who's echoing or shattering all your previous experience or kind of similar insights and methods. Within these guys, you wanted them to become better guys. This is how we could reach continuable success and how we could reach sustainable business growth in the longer term, not just for us, but also for the organization, for the business. So in this way, I would always try to have my team as much leaded and as much close as possible. I would like to transform to be the future leaders. And one specific example I would like to focus on here is we do have a program who had a lot of internship also coming into our company, become my course in the longer term, which called as the PS trainee. That means product supply trainee program. I hosted this program back in 2022, and it has already been lasted for 4 years. This is a leadership program that we hosted to both the internal newcomers and the graduate students. This is what we hold there. We select some specific questions, select some specific campaigns that are specifically clear and fitable for the academic area, and transform into some kind of a series of problem sets that for students would be clear enough to understand and configurable. This is how we would like to tell them what we are doing in the market and what we could do in the future, and ask them if they could do something differently from our perspective, from their perspectives as well. And this is to say how they could become one of the potential future leaders we would like to choose in the longer term. And I think this is a great thing, which we call as a three-wing project, both for the business and for the organization growth, and also for the graduate students. This is an opportunity for all of these three perspectives to win in the longer term. And I do believe this is the right way that leaders should choose to show their leadership.
Mm-hmm. And does the study abroad experience influence your leading style a lot? And how does play a role in your whole career?
That's an interesting question. I think affect me a lot. I think from three main perspectives. The first thing is how you value yourself and how you value the workers who's co-working with you. That's the first important thing. It is especially important because when you were back in mainland education system, most of the system are hierarchy. And within the hierarchy system, you always likely to see, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. And I do have some missions to take, I do have some routines to take, but that's just a part or some part of the vision of education. The key thing about education is how you should see the problems and why they are the problems. This is an important thing. And if you transform this from the problem wise to the people wise, you got another thing is that why do these guys looking like this? Why do these guys have this kind of mindset? And what drives them to make some kind of business decisions? This is a really important thing, not just ask about the work you're gonna take, but also understand the vision and mission behind the task, behind the routines. It's a specific important thing. And also, in the second way, it is to treat everyone as equal as possible. Because you don't understand the holistic picture of one specific person just because of one or two business communication. The key thing here is to understand the meanings behind their words, behind their business actions, and understand how we could reach a win-win status, how we could reach a collaboration between each other. That's the second thing. And the third thing I would like to say is that you need to value diversity and make it as respected as possible. This is what we always like to host within Procter & Gamble. We do have different kind of working atmospheres, but we always want these to be as friendly, as loved as possible. And this is how we could work as efficient as possible. We also understand that nowadays, no matter it's in Greater China or it's in the global market, we do facing some difficulties, but all of these difficulties will finally pass on. And when it passes on, we want all our employees be valued and we want all our employees be respected. We could maintain their growth and maintain the growth of our business as well. So that's three things I've learned, at least I have ever brought from my overseas education. This is what immigration education or what we refer as exchange thing could always brought to me.
That's good to hear.
Thank you.
I mean, there will always be some build of stress from your work, and do you have some specific tricks to ease them out and get rid of it?
Mm, yeah, do.
I mean, like
Mhm.
work-wise and personally wise, right?
All right, so that's two different questions, but let's just first talking about the profession side. So when you are talking about some kind of working difficulties or challenges, we will always have. I learned that from one of my mentors, who's right now the senior vice president of Procter & Gamble Global. So he taught me a thing that is to have three tips to work as seamlessly, as efficiently, and as respectively as possible. So the first thing is to value the mastery. The value mastery means when you are diving into one specific domain you are not that familiar with, try to get the one with the most great mastery set or the most senior experiences. That's the first thing. So to find those technicians with the greatest experience will help you avoid a lot of silly questions and get a close relationship with them to help you get rid of a lot of pitfalls as soon as possible and as fast as possible. That's the first thing, work with mastery. And the second thing is to have as frequent as close communication with the team, the whole team as much as possible. So if you are dealing with some kind of projects that would be cross-function projects or like a sophisticated or ground vice project, like right now I'm leading a Greater China vice project, these kind of projects you should connect as much as possible. As a team leader or as a project leader, you need to get all the information you need as fast and as holistic as possible. It is not just about the formal meetings. You may need also have some close relationship point to point with some guys who are the key stakeholders or shareholders of the whole team. What are their values? What are their expectations? And what kind of methods do they take into account? These are the second things you will need to get rid of the obstacles. So like to say, with more information you need, with more information you grasp, it will be always easier for you to carry on the whole project. And third, but not but the least, to have a effective mechanism within this, no matter it's a campaign or it's a project, is to have a mechanism that is efficient and workable as early as possible. Before everything goes down, you need to have a system to help you walk. This system in Procter & Gamble, we call that as the IWS Integrated Walking System. And there are 13 different pillars helping us walking through different walking pillar, we call it walking pillars. Like it's about whether it's about mechanical, whether it's about efficiency, whether it is about organizational culture, whether it is about loss elimination. There are certain different domains for that. And within these kind of mechanisms help you build some prerequisites to the success of the project. You could always avoid some pitfalls. And these kind of mechanisms would help you understand this project's holistic picture as much as possible. To become a great project leader, you would need to understand all these three things, or at least build them by your own hands, so that you can understand project, understand the team, and understand yourself in a better way. This is how you could solve these kind of what we call as challenges, or what we call as obstacles, as much as possible and as efficient as possible. So that's for the profession side. And for the life side, I think most of the stress you brought from the life side could be rooted out with different ways. Like we do exercise. I do exercise like 7 times a week. It's about a daily basis, but sometimes with some excuses as well. I do some
Yeah, you're well fit.
Thank you. And sometimes I do some meditation, like a 30-minute meditation within the lunch break. These kinds of things would help you power up as much as possible. And it is always nice to have some friends to talk with. So to actually some true friends to talk with without any hurries or without any hassles. These kinds of things would help you as well. So I'd also choose a tapa room to have some craft beer and then talk to my dear friends at different frequency, depends on the specific workload I'm right now taking. But I will always trying to find some way either to extract external power or to release my internal stress as much as possible. That would help me maintain a healthy status and carry on all the work or the life I am taking.
Do you treat the alcohol as a meditation or some fun to take? Because I mean, like, we met in a tap room, right?
Yeah. So if you say it this way, it's kind of like a both. Yeah, both it's a meditation to yourself. That's when you come to an introversion way. The craft beer would help you sober your mind as much as possible, and you may sometimes break through some barriers with your mindset with really great. It's not just craft beer. Sometimes be the winery, sometimes be the other alcohol. All of these things
Mm-hmm.
help you sober your mind as fast as possible. It's kind of like calming yourself down with exact right shot size for you. That's the first thing. The second thing I would like to say, it's kind of much more like a bridge. Everyone would always have his or her frontiers because they're defendants. But when you are facing these defendants, craft beer would help you break through this as much as fast as possible. And you really meet with some friends. There's no interest exchange within the craft room, within the craft beer, within the tapa room. And this would help you make some really good friends who could really exchange your mind with as much as possible. And I think that's one of the things I would like to get to the craft room. Why I would like it to the tapa room as well.
Mm. Fair well. Fair say. Fair say. Fair say.
Mhm.
Have you ever faced any like hard time, like a large scale organizational restructure? If not, if similar situation kicked in, like what would you respond?
Hmm. It's actually, I think for especially for current circumstances, I would like to say we are all facing different levels of organizational change. This is a revolutionary era, and every company within this era would have to make some changes into this era. And we are facing a lot of changes. Actually, some of my friends within this company have already lived for their own interest in a longer term in these 2 or 3 years. And dozens of them have already lived for their interest, and some of them have already switched their position. It's not just about rotate, it's also about the business change that is happening within the world, within Procter & Gamble, within Greater China. So talking about this, I would like to say facing the change or even embarrassing the change is one of the main topics we would have to accept. And sometimes we would have to embrace them as soon as possible and as well as possible. This is a thing we need to face. We are not just facing a economic change era, we are also facing a technology changing era. This is a specifically important thing. We would not expect artificial intelligence becomes such an powerful and such a, how should we say, such a dominant tool within a working era by the last 5 years, but it's actually
Mm-hmm.
happened. And we will not expect that this what has refacing the deglobalization, reglobalization, and deglobalization era as this fast as possible. We are facing different tariffs, we are facing different economic slump down, we are facing the isolation of specific markets between Greater China and the other among Greater China and the other countries. But all of these are happening, so there must be some changes that a company shall take to make it sustainable, to make it survive. The key thing, I think, for leaders to take, especially as their accountability within the company, within the organization, are three key things. The first thing is to value everyone's work as much as possible. Before we take on any specific organizational change decisions, we need to understand what specific work the guys we are meeting with. So before everything is clear to a leader, there's no reasons that we shall make any decision on organizational or human resource level. That's the first thing. The second thing is to create valuable work as much as possible. Of course, while we are we are facing some changes and facing some lockdowns, it is not just for Procter & Gamble, it is just for a company. It is actually for the society, or we could say it's a global-wide problem. So in this way, the other companies are facing this as well. This is when the big names shall have their social responsibilities. The big names have the way to maintain the stability of one specific society in either ways, whether it's big or not. But to create valuable work at this era is one of the key visions that big names shall hold here. It is not just about maintain the business size. It is also about how could we keep the likeness for the future generation, for the future eras. Like we have just talked about the transformational leadership in the first question.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have an heritage or a bi-generation leadership mechanism to help us survive through these eras. It is not just about this generation of leaders, like the senior leaders or the middle leaders or the young leaders. It's not just about these three generations. We need to divide them in a much more statistic way. That's the first thing. The second thing is how could we find out the right future leaders that could fit into this organization and help us build some mastery, build some competitive advantages that could help us through this era and help this society become a much more stable and competitive society. That's the second thing. And the third thing is while we are facing this kind of hard times, everyone else, other companies are facing this as well. So it is a great time to invest on the things that would benefit us in the future terms. And from what we have overview here, it is to invest on three main pillars. The first thing is to invest on the human resources. The second thing is to invest on digitalization and smartization. The third thing is to invest on automation. All of these three things will help us build a stronger competitive advantage in the future terms, no matter the future will be much more robust or resilient or not. These things would always benefit us in the longer term, whether it's in 5 years or 10 years or even many decades. We will always survive through with a right portfolio of investment for this company, for this organization. I think that's what leaders shall take into account within their daily work. And this is us like a working cycle for them. In Procter, we do that as a cycle called PDCA, plan, do, check, act. This is a cycling part, not just in their daily work, but also in every business division they take into account. Yeah, I think that's all three things that organization, while facing organization changes, leadership should take into account.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And move to some more like personal-wise questions. Like, how did you start your career? Did you start your career from the management or being managed?
If you are talking about all the full-time positions I have taken, I am started within Procter & Gamble as a management trainee. So that is when I first taken a leadership role. But if you're taking something backwards, like if you're talking about internship, I am someone who being managed. And that's the reason, I think that's one of the reasons why I would like to be a transformational leader as much as possible. The key topic here is that how you want to be managed is exactly how you shall manage the others. It is much about empathy. Empathy here is a key wisdom we take into account when we are considering leadership. So for the guys who are working with you, they will exactly get how you respond to them. This is how they would lead their team in the future terms. So when I was chosen as the management trainee by Procter & Gamble back in 2021, the first moment I understand is that, all right, at this time, I will not just be myself within this company. I will be a leader within this organization, whether it's big or not. Uh, all the actions, all the images I brought to all my other subordinates or all my other co-workers would be exactly how they would feel about me and respond to me within the daily work. So the first thing, show empathy as much as possible. And I think that's how we shall make the management work, how we shall make the leadership work. I think it's a little bit third-wise to your question, but I think that's what the message I would like to bring to you and all the younger leaders.
As someone says, you're from the people. You do for the people.
Mm-hmm. From the people, in the people, for the people, and that's a reason. I think that's also built in within Procter & Gamble's working culture. Most of our senior leaders are exactly grow from the bottom. And 100% of the executive leaders within Procter & Gamble are from our bottom line leaders. So this is how we could understand the business as much as possible. We do not have some champion leaders as frequent, and we do value the system mindset that this company could bring to us.
And since this interview is coming to an end,
Mhm.
do you have anything to say as an experienced expert to the newcomers to the industry? And either they're entering the management or they're um, going social.
I think three small tips. It's not even a tip, it's just from my previous experiences. I got three perspectives. If I could tell the early version of me. So the first thing is to don't hesitate to make any mistakes. The first thing is that. So everyone make a mistake, but if you hesitate, you always regret you are not doing something. But when you make a mistake, you'd always learn something because that adds to experience. That's the first thing. The second thing is value others as you value yourself. So treat the others as equal as possible, and don't forget you are just a manager or a man in the management team because of your position, but not because of you. That's the second thing. And the third thing is if you take the work burden too much, don't take that too much because you are in a really big company and this company won't stop or suspend just because of you. So don't value yourself too much, but also maintain your work as efficient and as sustainable as possible. I think these are three tips I told myself back in that time.
So you have faced some hard time and like any identity problems?
Mm,
How you identified yourself?
hmm. From yeah, that's a great question. So for my lifelong time, I would always like to say, at least for the past 20 much years, I would always like to say I am trying to learn from the others. I'm always a student, or sometimes we say the amendment to the others. And but from these 2 or 3 years, I am switching myself sometimes to a tutorship. But the more I tell the others, the more I feel myself I am voiceless to these problems. So I would always like to be a student to the new things, and I would always be a helpful student to the others as well. This world is a cosmetic world. We could never figure out everything. The more we find, the more unknown is showing to us. So I always like to stay curious, stay hungry, and I always like to stay foolish. This is what I will identify myself, a hungry, foolish, curious student.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Jason.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry to take
No, it's
two
fine. It's
records
fine. You got a
So,
great opportunity to have a tattoo. Yeah, many times we have
uh,
tattoo.
I mean, I mean that's gonna be 2 rows back in China.
Yeah, that you got 2 runs there in the tattoo.
Yeah, and I hope your work do finds you well, and hopefully you won't really like receive any like stress from these trade war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope so.
And do be safe. Do
Hmm.
consider your own body, and I think we shall meet back in China.
Yeah, see you back in China.
Good to have you,
You too.
and bye bye.
Bye, yeah.
好，我来把这个 record 给关掉。
Mm-hmm.